Yo, what's up, all you burners, stoners, and potheads out there? This is Weedman 420 with the Weedman 420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there? Mrs. Weedman.
Mr. Weedman.
How the hell are you?
Great.
Awesome. You know why you're going to be great?
I know exactly why I'm going to be even better than great.
Because we got a new gizmo.
Yeah, we did.
What else do you call it?
Gadget.
Gizmo, apparatus.
Device.
I like gizmo.
Smoking thing.
We met some friends, and they sent us this awesome gizmo called Zenko. It comes with two different things to smoke out of. One is the Duo, and one is the Flow. The Duo is basically you drink it like a wine glass, or you can drink it through a straw.
This is a vaporizer,
Yes.
a cannabis vaporizer.
Yes, and we're going to have them on the show on July 14th to basically talk about this and teach us really how to use it. We played around with it yesterday, and the Duo. They also have one called the Flow. The Flow is more like a bong. It fills with water. It's got a hole. You put the vapor inside, and you hit it like a bong. The Duo is more like a wine glass, or you can use a straw. All I know is yesterday, Mrs. Weedman and I had a blast playing with it.
It's
on the
super fun.
4th of
It
July.
looks like a little old gas lantern, and there's just one button on it. You hit the button, and whatever type of cannabis you have in there, whether it's a vape cartridge, an oil, bud, just regular flower, you put them in there, it heats it up, and then it creates this little vapor that sits at the bottom of this glass top, which you can then remove, and ultimately you're inhaling it, but it looks like you're drinking it. So it's a little
It's awesome.
It's fun. It's kind of playful. It's very different delivery
Yes.
of cannabis.
Yes.
But I'll tell you, vaporizing really is cool because you get so much flavor. You get so much flavor, and it's cool, so you don't get the heat. It's just a comfortable smoke, and the high, I think, lasted a very long time.
I was baked.
For a long time.
I took 2 rips,
Yeah.
like 2 big sips.
Although I think that we're
Nips.
taking sips, nips, and rips of a resin, right?
Yes, so we
So that's why it lasted
I
longer.
had a live resin cartridge that someone gave me that I hadn't used yet, and it is Skywalker, which I'm going to read about while Mrs. Weedman uses the gizmo.
The gizmo gadget.
And it's 94% live resin, and I took 2 big nips, rips, sips, and I was on the couch locked with Yuki watching a movie for a good hour and a half, enjoying life.
So I'm going to have 1 glass of vape.
1 glass of vape. All right. While you're using the gizmo, I'm going to talk about Skywalker. Is a popular strain across the United States, a hybrid with even a 50-50 sativa indica ratio. Its THC levels top off at about. This is a live resin, so it's 94%, but average is 15 to 23% if it's flower. But it makes up for it with its mellow body, high and mental clarity, plus pleasing aroma and flavor. I do have to admit, this had a lot of flavor.
A lot of flavor.
And a lot of aroma. It's a cross between of blueberry, which is one of my favorite strains, and Mazar, Sharif, both famous strains in its own rights. The high is mostly relaxed with euphoria and mood boost. This is a good strain for insomnia as well as anxiety, ADHD, bipolar disorder, migraines, and PMS. It's particularly effective as pain relief. Dry mouth and red eyes are likely, while other adverse are much more limited. The taste of this strain is pungent and sweet with earthy tones. Skywalker is mostly found in the West Coast, in Arizona, and in Colorado, but it's relatively easy to find on any legal market as well as the traditional market in many parts of the country. The indica stress relief of this versatile strain make it a good choice for patients looking for a break. The effects: body high, euphoria, relaxing, relieves arthritis, chronic pain, depression, fibromyalgia, headaches, insomnia, loss of appetite, migraines, nausea, PTSD. Flavors are berry, fruity, piney, spicy, sweet. What do you think, Mrs. Weedman?
Literally tasted all of those things.
Seriously?
Yes. Definitely there's a berry component. Spicy, yeah.
And then aromas are blueberry, earthy, fruity, pungent, and sweet. So that is Skywalker. It's just Skywalker, not Skywalker OG, not Skywalker Kush, just straight up Skywalker. It is my turn to have fun with the gizmo. I'm going to let Mrs. Weedman talk a little bit while I press the cool-ass button and watch the vape come up from the bottom, which we've posted many times on our Instagram. I'm going to keep on posting about this. We're going to be using this a lot because I fucking love it. So thank you, Zenko, for the gift. I'm looking forward to our show together in July 14th. And Mrs. Wee Man's going to talk a little bit about our 4th of July and some sad news, and we have many prayers and shout outs that go to all the families up in Highland Park. Go ahead, Mrs. Wee Man.
Yeah. So we had a pretty chill weekend. We went to the beach one day. We went up to the Indiana National Lakeshore and had a really chill day on the beach. That was great. We brought Yuki with, and she was chilling out, digging holes. And then we had 4th of July festivities actually on Friday night. That was when our community did fireworks and things. So pretty nice chill weekend. Unfortunately, there was some sad news on the 4th of July. There was a parade in a small north side community of Chicago. We are on the south side, and at that parade there was a mass shooting, and we just got news that there was a little boy at the end of the day that they couldn't find the parents of, and it was announced that both of his parents were victims of this just awful tragedy. So this poor little guy has no mom and dad anymore. I know there's other family involved, but forever a life changed, a lot of lives changed, and a really tragic and sad event. So we just keep our thoughts and hopes, and we just
we're praying for their families.
We're praying for all of those families out there.
We had friends up there that live up there too.
Thankfully, they weren't at the parade at the time, but it still affects their life. It's their community. It's a small community. So
we were connecting with them a lot, texting them and stuff like that. So, but our hopes and our prayers and our love goes out to everyone up there and all the families that were affected by this, and just hope everybody's okay. But otherwise, 4th of July was cool.
It was good.
It was chill.
Nice. That was actually a solid 4-day weekend.
Yes.
Like our weekend started as soon as we could on Friday, and it was just a nice chill. Chill. I was ready to work today.
Yeah, and the weather was beautiful too.
Yeah.
You couldn't ask for better weather down here in the south side of Chicago. I mean, it was perfect. Oh,
pretty sweet.
So gorgeous out. Just listening to fireworks, barbecuing, drinking beers, and smoking a lot of weed.
Last night was definitely the champion of all the nights of fireworks.
Yeah,
Friday night, it was like the show, and then it was kind of quiet in the sky. And usually Chicago is a loud fireworks city all summer. All summer. They're going all the time. And even in the daytime, you're hearing some fireworks in the distance. Friday night was pretty quiet. Saturday night, it was like, oh, what time is it? Because now it's quiet.
Yeah, it was
like 11 o'clock. Everything shut down. And then Sunday
was good.
No, Monday night, though. 4th of July. Holy cow. The sky was loud.
The boomers.
Everywhere. It was great. I love it. It was great. So,
before we get the show started, I have to say, wow. Boy, do I love that gizmo.
It's so smooth. I still have to figure out my dose. Like, I filled it all the way up. There's like a little stopper in the bottom of the glass, and I let it fill all the way up to the top of that stopper.
That's what I did.
Yeah, it was too much for me. So I couldn't really get a
I'm
good
going to go
inhale.
bigger next time. Go big or go home.
Well, I'm going to go maybe half so I can get like a good inhale and feel it. I'm still going to be, I think, pretty...
Yeah, you're going to be perfect.
Pretty zonky.
Yep. So, let's get the show started, shall we?
Yes.
Why do most people use cannabis? On the show, we always ask guests, you smoke weed because. The first episode we ever did, I said I smoked cannabis because of my back, which was true. It is. It was an easy answer. I love cannabis. I love the plant. I love everything about it. I love smoking it. I love eating it. I love drinking out of a wine glass with it now. I love cannabis. I love everything it does for my body. I love the feel of it. I love the effects of it. I love the chill. I love the running around of it. It's just something about cannabis that's always been good to me. So why do most people smoke cannabis? A new poll supports what the industry is already telling us. Reaching for a weed-filled pipe, vape pen, pre-roll, gummy, or a bong is second nature to many Americans. By some accounts, up to 65% of our fellow country people say they have tried cannabis in their lifetime. That's just tried. Boomers are still a big demographic for historic use, but millennials and Gen Zers are now pushing current sales. But why do they choose it? According to the new Harris poll released by Curaleaf, which is one of the largest cannabis companies in the United States, adults who have used cannabis claim health and wellness are generally the reason the majority doing it to relax. Yes. Followed by using it as a sleep aid and to reduce stress and anxiety. The numbers don't lie. Out of 2,000 adults aged 21 and over surveyed, more than 90% see cannabis as a health aid, a plant for wellness. Do you all know why? Mrs. Weeman, do you know why?
Why?
Because there's angels in those
You
leaves.
and the angels.
In those leaves, which follows the trajectory of the industry right now. As legalization continues to grow, adult use is now legal in 19 states and counting. The stigma, stomp it, around consumption continues to fade. Cannabis is almost as mainstream as drinking beer. The only thing I'm adding this to this article, it's not legal federally, and beer is. Mainstream, yes, but legalization, no. Almost being the operative word. There are still a number of states against full legalization and decriminalization, and federal legalization continues to be blocked, even if both sides of the political spectrum continue to push for it. This current survey is a representative changing tide. However, more Americans, 75% according to the poll, are looking for more holistic solutions for medical treatment, whether it's to fight cancer, depression, anxiety, glaucoma, or chronic pain. At 62% of people say they would prefer to use cannabis rather than pharmaceuticals in general. Educating consumers on how cannabis can be leveraged to support everyday health and wellness needs is critical to stigmatize the plant and providing consumers with more choices to best fit their personal lifestyles, says Dr. Stacy Woodcock, clinical cannabis pharmacist for Cureleaf, New York. There are a wide variety of ways to consume cannabis safely, and many formulations actually have minimal intoxication effects. Different product options with various ratios of THC and CBD give patients the opportunity to consume cannabis in a way that works with their lifestyles and, of course, comfort level. We all want people, this is me saying it, we all want people to be comfortable when it comes to cannabis. That's why I love Mrs. Weeman when she gets on her soapbox. She fights for it. She wants people to be comfortable using it, knowing about it, and stopping the stigmas are one of our top 4 things. So, of those who choose cannabis as an alternative, 88% said it improved their overall well-being, and 86% said they would recommend it to a friend or a family member for medical reasons. That's a pretty good article. And thank you, Cureleaf, for paying the money to get these tests done. Because, like I said, some of these tests don't come cheap, and sometimes you got to pay for it. And a big brand like that has some money, and they're going to put some money to it. Good for them. Thanks. I'm baked.
Yeah, I am too.
And you got to go next.
Yeah.
You ready? This is a good article.
I'm trying to focus. I'm focusing. I'm focusing, Mr. Weedman. I could do it.
I have to say, I have to say something. High Times in the last 4 or 5 articles I've read from them have been like pretty, really well written. They're beautiful articles. This one is another one. You read one last episode. This is another one. They've been coming pretty hard, and I really for a magazine that has been around for a long time, that's been fighting for it, writing about it. Mm-hmm. They've thrown some. They've impressed me over these last couple articles. So
they're defending the bud, the purity of the bud.
Yes,
they are. Business.
And here's the thing: they're over cannabis brands that don't like cannabis users. There are cannabis brands that are trying to take cannabis to a different way, and the reason why they're doing it is to make weed more friendly towards the people that don't like it, to the governments of the world that don't want to put it in their country. They're trying to make it not. I think
they're just trying to make it pretty,
right,
or marketable. It's right. Make it. Okay,
they're trying to stop the stigma in their own way,
right?
For profitability.
I can appreciate
in some ways.
Yes, but they also know that the war on drugs created stigmas on cannabis, right? Pretty serious ones, and they come in all sorts of ways. They come in, negative comments about people who use cannabis. It comes in like just the idea that generally speaking, everything cannabis related is like, duh, like it signifies that you're this just blockhead. And you can only wear tie-dye and socks with weed leaves on them and listen to the Grateful Dead. And it's like, well, it never has been everybody who smokes weed. Right. Right? But that's just that's the immediate, idea that opens in your mind when you think about someone with cannabis.
Right.
Because we're preconditioned to think that. I'm rambling. Oh,
you
boy,
are.
am I.
I got you.
Point being, I can argue with this article a little bit because I can see both sides of it. I understand mainstreaming, right? Like every product, not every product, but products like this, they're trying to break a stigma, and they're trying to reach the general public who sees that as a bad image or negative, and put a positive spin on it to make it more approachable.
Yeah, I get it.
Acceptable.
I get it.
All right.
Go to the
I'm
article.
spinning here. Okay. This article is called "I'm Over Cannabis Brands That Don't Like Cannabis Users. Death to the Pretty Package." The marketing is dialed in. It's presented with buzzy words and pithy phases. The packaging is minimalist and well designed with sleek fonts, clean lines, and a tasteful but neutral color scheme. Maybe there's even a celebrity involved. The weed, which should be the focus, I very much agree, exists, but it's boilerplate, grown in mass, and sometimes flavored with botanical terpenes from other plants. It almost seems like an afterthought, and often it is. Right there, agree 100%. It's fine to do all these marketing approaches, mainstreaming with your packaging, but the focus is the bud. The bud should be good and clean, right? So according to Jimmy Devine, he's one of the authors here, he said he refers to it as press release weed. That's what he likes to call it. For some people, the new wave of sexy branding meets mediocre product hits home. Many companies are banking their entire businesses on the fact that cannabis is scary to many people, thanks to the efforts of prohibitionists over the years. They're hoping that there's some untold canna-curious customer who's just been waiting for the okay from Uncle Sam to light up. And once they do, they'll be hooked for life. And personally, I think this consumer archetype is the one this kind of marketing is intended for. I agree. But for anyone who's been smoking weed long and frequently enough, encountering sleek branding in today's continually legalizing cannabis industry can be a bit of a mindfuck. Who exactly is this for? I often find myself wondering, especially as a person who finds herself at the intersection of few seemingly high-priority target groups for cannabis marketeers. Marketeer. Da, da, da. I am a woman who, at 36 years old, is approaching middle age. I have a diagnosed anxiety disorder as well as ADHD. I also stopped drinking heavily over 2 years ago, swapping in more weed for less booze. According to the panels I've moderated and sat in on, the people I've interviewed, and the trend reports I've read, these are all prime targets for cannabis companies, especially the middle-aged woman bit. But the truth is that I've always smoked weed, and the only thing I care about when buying it is whether it's good or not the package it comes in, nor the lifestyle it promises, however cute it all might be. Interestingly, though, the one aspect of my life that should seem attractive to cannabis marketers, the fact that I'm what my primary care physician calls a heavy cannabis user, seems to be not particularly sought after by brands or the people who market them. On its face, that seems kind of obvious, because why should anyone build something for a population that's already arrived when growth at all costs is the target goal? But it seems a bit disrespectful that branding and marketing efforts in cannabis increasingly ignores its core customer, instead peacocking for an imaginary would-be toker who is honestly probably never going to purchase more than a bag of low-dose edibles every few months or so. Adding insult to injury, cannabis is not just another consumer packaged good. It's a criminalized, controlled substance, the prohibition of which has gotten many people killed and imprisoned, a legacy that continues to this day. It may seem quaint in the age of dispensaries that look like Apple stores or high-end boutiques, but not too long ago, it wasn't actually normal or even safe to buy weed or sell it. Those of us who did so, whether we were trying to or not, were engaging in an act of resistance to some extent. We were at risk. I think that means we should have our weed brands be as weedy and stonerish as we like. Bring on the tie-dye, the Grateful Dead Kish, the wide array of dabs. We fought for this, and we deserve to enjoy it. Instead, I find myself scanning display cases at dispensaries, often not even able to see or smell the weed inside the pretty packages, and utterly unsure of what I'm even purchasing. I read glowing profiles of cannabis executives, many of whom are quoted saying something along the lines of, "Our weed brand transcends the stoner stereotype and image." Cool, I guess. But what does that even mean? So many types of people smoke weed, and on paper and at first glance, I'm probably not what most people would picture when they hear stoner. Yet here I am. Plus, I'm not actually ashamed to be a pothead, especially when considering how much cannabis has enhanced my life and helped me heal from a variety of ailments. My consumption isn't the issue. It's the rest of society's view of it that's actually
Damn,
the
that's
problem.
such a good fucking
This whole
line.
article is
I
great.
told you this fucking
Yeah.
article, they've been coming strong.
Yeah. That being said, there are certain aspects of the culture that I am glad are starting to change, like different types of consumption being celebrated more and more. The fact that lower and mid-range THC products are being shouted for alongside a greater focus on terpenes is music to my ears. And while there is still a very long way to go, I do appreciate that the serious bro culture of cannabis world is starting to dissipate, however slowly.
Yeah, bro, got some protein. Protein, bro.
I look around at consumption lounges, parties, industry events, dispensaries, boardrooms, and cannabis media companies, and more women are present than ever before. To me, that's more meaningful than a pretty pre-roll with a feminine design attribute. That's pretty powerful.
I mean, I got like one or two more articles from them that I can't wait to read.
Yeah.
They've been throwing
That's
it out
good.
there.
Yeah. Lots
They
of
have
good
been.
points.
I gotta say, our daughter moved back in with us. O-Dog moved back in with us, and it's been great having her here. And
She cooks.
She cooked. That's how she stole my line.
She went to the grocery store for me, too.
It's been pretty nice.
Like, yes.
She cooked tonight. It was great.
But I had to pay for the groceries.
Who cares? I'll pay for groceries if she's gonna cook.
I had to clean the dishes.
Who
but
cares?
I didn't have to cook.
You didn't have to cook.
And at this point in my life, that's great.
O-Dog, welcome home.
What's up?
The entourage effect. Does it
Ooh.
really exist? And we've talked about this before. One of the like original OG episodes with Paulie, when he talked about the entourage effect, and when we first kind of learned about it back in like 2019, 2018, when I first learned about it, and started hearing about it, and he said that a lot more research needed to be done, and it's true. They're still doing more research. Some people are saying it's fake. I've heard some other podcasters had doctors on, and they're saying it's not really that real, and and they fought for it and love it. So I believe in it. Does there still need to be more stuff? Yes. This one says that the entourage effect doesn't really exist. And this is it's Mind and Matter, effects and how things affect your body. So Mind and Matter is a monthly column by Nick Jacombs, PhD, Leafly's Director of Science and Innovation. The entourage effect is the idea that two or more drugs can act synergistically when consumed together, stimulating effects that would not be observed if they were taken on their own. Cannabis-derived products typically contain more than just THC. Consumers often report that cannabis products offer effects not readily explained by THC content alone. Research has suggested that pure THC is not as well tolerated by medical cannabis patients as botanical extracts. This has given rise to the notion of entourage effects in cannabis. THC is the main driver of psychoactive effects, but these effects can be modulated by other molecules. As a result, different forms of cannabis might have distinct effects depending on specific entourage of chemical compounds they contain. The idea has captivated scientists and consumers, but is it true? Is there any clear evidence of entourage effects among any cannabis-derived cannabinoids and terpenes or between THC and other types of drugs? What about psychedelic entourage effects among the various species of psilocybin mushrooms, which are also known to vary in their chemical content? Known entourage effects with cannabinoids. Early evidence for possible entourage effects with cannabinoids came from studies in the 1990s, led by Dr. Raphael Machella, and we all know him. We've talked about him on this show many a times. They looked like endogenous cannabinoid 2-AG, which interacts with the body's two main endocannabinoid receptors, CB1 and CB2. Scientists found that 2-AG was often present with other endogenous compounds, some of which could enhance 2-AG's physiological effects in mice. Those damn mice. They showed that entourage effects where one or more molecules enhance or diminish the effects of another. Maybe one way the endocannabinoid system is regulated at the molecular level. One example of the interactive effects between two cannabis-derived cannabinoids is THC and CBD. THC activates the CB1 receptor of the endocannabinoid system, accounting for its psychoactive effects. CBD also interacts with the receptors, but in a different way, changing CB1 such that it changes THC's ability to activate it. This probably accounts for CB's ability to mitigate some of THC's side effects, such as paranoia and short-term memory loss. Studies have shown that THC-CBD ratio also influences the level of psychoactivity experienced by cannabis consumers. For infrequent cannabis consumers, when CBD is present at much higher levels than THC and toxins is reduced compared to THC alone. Conversely, consumption of THC 8 milligrams together with half as much of CBD 4 milligrams enhances the intoxicating effects, but only for infrequent consumers. In people who frequently consume cannabis, the intoxicating effects of THC don't change much when combined with CBD. This indicates that the psychoactive effects of cannabis can change based on the THC-CBD ratio in a way that depends on your level of consumption experience. There may also be entourage effects involving the impact of cannabinoids on pain. Full-spectrum cannabis products can show better efficiency and tolerability for pain patients compared to pure THC. The details still need to be worked out, but cannabinoids like THC may have interactive effects with opioids. Animal research has shown that when opioids are combined with cannabinoids, pain relief can be achieved using a lower dose of the opioid. More human clinical research needs to be done here, but synergy between cannabinoids and opioids may be one reason why states and medical cannabis laws tend to see reductions in the use of certain prescription drugs. Entourage effects between cannabinoids and terpenes. Are cannabinoids the only factors in the entourage effect? Maybe not. There's a speculation that terpenes that violate compounds that give cannabis its aroma can modulate the psychoactive effects of THC. I will have to say the Zenko helps me read. One of the most influential scientists popularizing the view of Dr. Ethan Russo, with whom I've been spoken to about cannabinoids terpenes interactions. Two of the more widespread beliefs about cannabinoid terpene entourage effects are limonene provides antidepressant effects, brightening the effects of the THC high. Myrcene providing calming or sedative effects, accounting for the couch lock phenomenon many THC consumers are familiar with. While intriguing, these claims tend to rest on thin evidence in humans. The evidence is almost entirely anecdotal. There is no clear clinical evidence that limonene or myrcene modulate the THC effects in these ways, although clinical trials are now underway to assess this. While there is some preclinical evidence that terpenes like limonene and myrcene may have psychoactive effects in animals, these studies typically involve... Aren't we animals?
Yeah.
We're mammals, aren't we?
Right.
We're part of the animal kingdom.
I don't know.
That's why it works so well. Resemble those with human cannabis consumption and without co-administration with THC. Myrcene is one of the most common cannabis terpenes. It's not uncommon to hear that it promotes sleepiness. There are some animal studies investigating myrcene's effects on sleep, but they involve injecting rodents with myrcene together with drugs like pentobarbital or a barbiturate with strong sedative effects. The results have generally not been replicated and sometimes show contradictory results, even within the same study, depending on the details of each experiment. While there may be good reasons to expect that some cannabinoid terpene entourage effects will be discovered, research to date is too sparse to draw from conclusions about human cannabis consumptions. Private research is also being done, which is awesome. And they're studying cannabinoid terpene interactions. And Dr. Andrew Siladine, who ran R&D for Colorado-based company called EBBU Inc., research at EBBU apparently did an exhaustive set of experiment looking for interactive effects among the major cannabinoids. Terpenes found in cannabis, for example, that measured whether the terpenes enhanced or diminished the effects of THC at the CB1 receptor. Apparently, some terpenes were able to significantly enhance THC's ability to activate the CB1, which would be expected, hiding its psychoactivity. Cannabis and other plants communicate with the external world using language of chemistry, but we are only just beginning to decode the meaning of this language. It will take years of study to understand what this chemical language means for human medicine and human experience. Wasted so much time. And I posted an article, how long cannabis has been used, and when, in 1937, when they totally just locked it up, and the world locked it up, there was a trail that from Asia all the way to the United States, they can track and we locked it up. Imagine if we let this thing go, it never got locked up, and how much we would know about this plant, how much it would cure the world.
Yeah,
just terrible, just brutal. So terpene function and entourage effects in nature. One hint that terpenes may participate in entourage effects is in the plants, fungi, and other organisms produce specific terpenes to serve their ecological needs. Interesting. Entourages in high THC cannabis. Scientists at the University of Colorado Boulder and Leafly recently partnered to map the cannabinoid terpene content of commercial cannabis. The results of this study and the most common combinations of cannabinoids and terpenes found in products used by consumers. That's awesome to hear. So this is a pretty long article. We'll post it. They're talking about like the chemotype of HB caryophyllene plus limonene and what it does for you. And then how myrcene and high pinene, what it does for you. There's a whole chart and graph, terpene and high myrcene and omnicene, and what that chart does for you. So potential entourage effects they're talking about in psilocybin mushrooms. Also, we all know if you watched any shows about mushrooms, those things spread in the ground across the world. They all connect some way, somehow, and they connect every living thing that lives in the ground and above the ground. So there will be some more studies on mushrooms soon. As you see, a lot of states are trying to basically like legalize psilocybin in their states. So that's going to be the next big wave. Get ready because mushrooms are amazing.
Yeah.
So we love edibles.
Yes, we do.
Sometimes they hit fast. Sometimes they hit slow.
And we talk about them all the time. And we talk about how fast and slow they hit all the time.
How fast, how slow. Do it up.
But what about being able to make an edible hit faster? Well, this article says, I think I can read. I feel like, am I saying the right words?
Don't make me laugh when I'm about to drink some fucking water and spit it all over you.
All right, try that again. Here's the article. Edibles can take a long time to work, but many people feel that the effects are worth it. The THC in cannabis that you can eat is converted into a compound called 11-hydroxy-THC, which hits harder and longer than the THC you smoke. Edibles are a little bit of a trade-off. If you want a great high, you need to be patient. But just how patient should you be? Well, don't run back and grab a few more edibles for sure. Yours are about to kick in if they haven't yet. If you're hoping your next experience with edibles will move a little faster, the way you prepare and the edibles you choose can help you experience the effects of the THC a little bit sooner. Why do edibles take so long? When you smoke weed, it enters your bloodstream almost immediately. You'll know a minute or two after you take a hit how you're going to feel and if you need to go back for more. Edibles work differently because they have to go through a lot more before they enter your bloodstream. Your stomach needs to break down all the food inside of it, turn it into a slurry, and start sending it toward your colon before you can use the nutrients or THC inside the food. The THC reaches your liver before it reaches your bloodstream. There, it's converted into 11-hydroxy-THC, which is ultimately what gets you high. This form of THC is very potent. That's why low-dose edibles are a smart option, even for cannabis smokers. The way your body changes the THC makes its effects feel more potent, so a little goes a very long way. That's the trade-off. You'll get really high on a very low dose of weed, and that high will last for a better part of the day. You just have to be willing to wait for nature to do what it does. Your body has a lot to do to use the THC it gets from edibles, and this process can take a long time. It isn't unusual to wait up to 2 hours to begin to feel the effects of edibles. It takes even longer for them to wear off, with some people reporting that they ride a reasonable high for about 8 hours after their edibles kick in. If you want something that will hit fast and gradually wear away in a reasonable amount of time, you'll need to smoke or vape your cannabis. The unpredictability of edibles is off-putting to some. Some may feel anxious because time is passing slowly and they don't know when their edible will kick in. They want the effects to start so they can gauge how they're feeling and plan their activities for the rest of the day around their peak high. Unfortunately, your digestive system will continue to move at its own rate, as it always has. There's not much you can do to inherently change the way your body works. If you're a highly athletic person with a very efficient metabolism, your edibles will kick in faster as a result of that. If you're sedentary and have a slower metabolism, your edibles may take longer to work. Changing your choices, such as the kind of edibles you use and the things you eat on the day you plan to take your edibles, can help to expedite the process. No method is perfect, but these minor tweaks can help to produce better results. An empty stomach. If your stomach and digestive system are full of food, your body is going to have to process all of that first. The edibles take the back seat, and you can't undo your digestive process. The only thing you can do is wait it out. The best time to eat a THC edible is when you're actually hungry. If your stomach is rumbling and you haven't eaten in a while, your body is asking you for food. It's ready to process what you eat and break it down to sustain itself. THC needs to be digested with some kind of fat in order for your body to utilize it properly. Choosing an edible like a cookie or a brownie that contains oil or butter will help your body process the THC efficiently. The combination of fat, THC, and an empty stomach will likely lead you to get high much sooner than you would if you ate something like a gummy after a big dinner. If you decide to go this route, consider how you'll feel when you're extremely high and you've only had a brownie to eat. Have something substantial ready to eat and consume it about 20 minutes after you consume your edible. Choose something with a decent balance of protein, fiber, and healthy carbs to keep you feeling full and stabilize your blood sugar. Make sure to drink plenty of water with your meal. I don't think you have to get that technical. Just have an edible and have it before you eat your dinner and then go eat your meal.
Yeah.
The edible will get a
Tell
head
'em.
start, and when your high kicks in, you won't be dealing with it on an empty stomach. Caffeine can temporarily speed up your metabolism. Its effects are modest, but they're almost immediate. Try having your edible with a cold brew or a cup of green tea. The stimulation from the caffeine will help your digestive process move a little smoother, which may slightly reduce the amount of time it takes your edible to kick in. But don't go overboard with caffeine. If you're a caffeine-sensitive person, you'll want to be careful. The last thing you want is a racing heart when your edibles kick in. Your high may exacerbate that feeling and cause anxiety. Be careful not to consume high amounts of caffeine, especially if you don't ordinarily. If you have 4 cups a day, your body is used to it. You'll be less likely to experience any negative side effects. You could try taking your edible with a warm drink or while sipping a cup of hot soup or broth, and it will help break food down in your stomach a little faster. This is an imperfect method, but many people swear by it. In theory, it could work. Chocolate melts in the sun. Pour something warm over the THC-infused chocolate in your stomach could possibly help it melt faster. Or the other thing you do is you chew it really thoroughly. So then it sublingually gets to your bloodstream faster. So if you keep that gummy in your mouth and just chew it till there's nothing, or let the chocolate melt on your tongue before you swallow it, I've found that does help make it faster.
It does.
If eating your weed seems to take too long, try drinking it. THC-infused sodas and sparkling waters are easier for your body to break down and use, and they contain a lot of complex carbohydrates. Because they require less work, they're able to make their way into your bloodstream in a minimal amount of time. If you can't get edibles to work for you, or if you're not a fan of the waiting period, use an alternative method. If you don't want to smoke or vape, try using cannabis-infused tincture. You can place a few, that's like a concentrate. You place a few drops beneath your tongue and hold them there. The THC is absorbed by the tissues under your tongue, which are very thin and porous. This gives THC a more direct route to your bloodstream, allowing you to bypass your digestive system and speed up the onset of your high. All in all, there's only so much you can do to expedite the process. The kind of edible you choose and the way you consume it can play a role in helping you experience the effects faster. You may just have to wait, though, for your edibles to kick in.
Warming up your stomach is kind of funny. I thought your stomach's already warm.
Like coffee and an edible.
Bowl of
like a
soup.
piece of chocolate and a cup of coffee. A bowl of soup.
Bowl of soup.
Yep,
Makes it a little higher. And no soup for you. I'm baked. I took another hit.
Why do you do that?
I really like that thing. That's why I
yeah.
want to just hit it. I want to hit. This is funny because I texted a friend of mine and I said, "Listen, I'll see you on the road soon, and we're gonna take some road nips." And he's like, and I sent him a picture of it, and he was
Nips?
crying. Yeah,
Road nips?
Road
Oh.
nips. Little nips, just little nips on the road. Sips, nips. Just pass it to him like, "Hey,
Whips
got any
and
great,
dips.
got any great poupon?
Chips.
Got any great poupon?" And I pass him over the glass full of vape, and he just takes a drink and then just drives away.
Squeeze me. Can you pass me the Grey Poupon?
No, excuse me.
Excuse me.
Can you pass me the Zenko? it's good stuff. Oh man, that's so good.
Imagine eventually, like at bars, you're just at a bar and you're like, I'll take a 10 milligram shot, please.
That's what I'm saying.
Right?
It's
And they,
fucking
like,
gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
The 21st century? Duck Dodgers in the 21st and a half century. Zenko came out with that.
Duck Dodgers?
Duck Dodgers. Don't you remember
What's
Daffy
that?
Duck? Duck instead of Buck Rogers, he called himself Duck Dodgers. You don't remember that?
No. Are you making that up?
No. Do I have to prove you wrong?
No, you don't.
Okay.
I believe you.
I'm going to look it up when you do your long episode. We're going to play it just because I know. There's a travesty, and here's the travesty. In Mississippi, weed is going to be going legal soon, and there's a man there who got busted and sentenced for 1.5 ounces of cannabis possession, and his case is not an anomaly, but they're keeping him in jail. And his name is Alan Russell, and he's 38, and he was sentenced without parole in 2019. Life without parole for 1.5 ounces of cannabis.
I've heard about that.
Come on.
Last Prisoner Project is helping.
Yeah, I know. It's some bullshit right there. Come on, Mississippi. You're about to legalize it. Man, don't life in prison for 1.5 ounces. My goodness. It's up to Biden to direct mass clemency for cannabis cases, U.S. Pardon Attorney says. Okay, sure. Minnesota legalizes low-dose cannabis edibles, and it surprised all the Republican leaders that voted for it because they didn't read the bill. So the sale and consumption of some low-dose cannabis edibles became legal in Minnesota on Friday. It was great, bringing celebration from weed advocates and from at least one legislator said he wasn't aware of what he voted for. The new state law allows Minnesota over the age of 21 to buy food and beverage containing up to 5 milligrams of THC per serving. Hey, it's something's better than another. And they can put 50 milligrams per package. That's pretty good. Low, but, whatever. It's still good. Something's better than nothing. And so everybody was all kind of like, what the hell? This Democratic state representative suburb Heather Eldison of the Minneapolis suburb of Edina, that's why I got a little tongue-tied there, sponsored the legislation in Minnesota House and has said that the law was designed to rein in the Delta 8 market, which has raised some health concerns among critics. The low-level legalization, she said, was known and necessary effective attaining the goal. So that's pretty cool. So it's 5 milligrams, 50 milligrams per package. So, I mean, who knows? I don't know what they'll charge for it. They're not talking pricing yet up there, but you can pop a 50 miller if you want, if you're a high dose person. So, but at least you get some edibles. It's getting better. Should be. It's just weird why Minnesota's not even fully like recreational yet. It's so crazy. Cannabis TV ads might protect from FCC under new bill in Congress. We'll see if it happens. I mean, the Congress and everybody's been promising so much shit lately on cannabis and they haven't delivered. They need to learn something. The government. They need to learn to under-promise and over-deliver. That's what they need to do. Because they over-promise and never deliver. Mm-hmm. I think they need to take something from the sales playbook of Weedman 420 and under-promise and over-deliver to the people of this country. Because you all suck. Mm-hmm. Nevada gives final approval for cannabis consumption lounge. Good for them. U.S. Army wants to make sniper uniforms out of hemp. I think that's a great idea. And you should let the U.S. Army men smoke it, too. You and I are mom and dads, right?
Yeah.
Nowadays, we kind of sometimes what? Smell like what?
We might smell like weed.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah. There's an article, though, you're going to read. Tell us about it.
This is a long one, so follow me on this because I tried to brief it a little bit, but there's details that just can't be left out.
It's a story.
It's an important story. This is about good moms and dads sometimes smell like weed. How the marijuana stigma nearly destroyed one New York mother. Editor's note says, Kimber Arezi is a Long Island resident. She's a medical cannabis patient, caregiver, and advocate. She's an active volunteer for Women Grow and director of education for the Canna Diva, an online community fighting the stigma of cannabis consumption. She wrote this first-hand account for New York Cannabis Insider to show the stigma surrounding marijuana and how it can impact a person's professional and personal life. So, here we go. As a child, Father's Day weekend never really meant much to me. I didn't have a father growing up, but for my husband, Father's Day was everything. He wanted to be what he never had. And he was always so proud of all of the things our child had that we didn't. A house, a backyard, a pool, vacation. Two parents who liked each other, also, always so proud of what he provided, of the world we had built ourselves. And on these retail holidays, our child was a gift enough to celebrate. We had everything we needed or had ever wanted. Simple happiness. Looking back, it feels as if we cherished so much while taking the quiet of our lives for granted. Since October 2018, I've worked in New York State's medical cannabis industry. Yep, I work in weed. Legal weed, that is, recommended to patients. Every day, I teach how the plant can create a myriad of different medicines. Each medicine may help life look a little better as your body feels a little better. My job was to provide counsel on how cannabis helps the body find balance to assist their pharmaceuticals efficiently. As more practitioners started to recommend cannabis for chronic pain and IBS, more community members came seeking relief. People wanted to stop taking painkillers and benzos. They wanted to stop counting pills. The connections that we made with patients was astounding, and we saw people's lives transform. We helped families have open conversations and communication about cannabis and cancer. Unfortunately, we also watched life slip away. We created a community circle, a cannabis circle, where through our consumption, we could connect and compare and care compassionately for each other. And patients came back because we cared. At the time, everyone in my world was from the cannabis scene, or what we would call our New York Canna-Fam. Everyone consumed in one fashion or another, and for one condition or another. I spoke publicly about the stigma attached to consumption, but outside of small issues and jabs, I had never been harassed or targeted for my consumption of cannabis. When the Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act, also called the MRTA, was signed on March 31st of 2021, it was the start of cannabis independence in New York State. While legal adult use sales have yet to start, New Yorkers have been able to consume and carry without the fear of criminalization. Bottom line, you can burn and police can't stop you. You can smell like weed and you can't be stopped and searched. If you're carrying up to 3 ounces or have 24 grams of concentrate, you're cool in New York. Sort of. Outside of the 38 medical dispensaries in the state, there isn't any place to legally buy cannabis yet. For me, March 31st of 2021 marks the first time I felt safe in my home since the pandemic started. That's because the MRTA ensured that CPS, or Child Protective Services, can't be called because of the smell of cannabis. It doesn't mean I won't be targeted, bullied, discriminated against, harassed, or threatened. But as a parent who consumes cannabis, smell is no longer a trigger. Anyone can place a call to Child Protective Services to help a child in need. But the call that was placed about my son wasn't rooted in good. We were targeted because of my employment. At the start of the pandemic, in March of 2020, New York cannabis workers transitioned from illicit to essential employees. 7 years of advocacy to include recreational cannabis to our medical state finally seemed viable. At the same time, the first CPS claim was filed against me. The agent read 24 lines out loud that documented my son's broken wrist, lateness, and absences. My son went to school with a broken wrist because he has neuropathy and didn't feel the pain. He has nonverbal autism and can't articulate emotion, let alone pain. The next 22 lines detailed that we were terrible parents, that we were neglectful, we didn't care about our child's health, his limited diet, and we couldn't provide proper care. The complaint alleged that this gaunt, malnourished, autistic, nonverbal child was on marijuana. He smelled like marijuana and was uncared for because of marijuana. The perception that I was too stoned to bring him to school. As the agent and I went through this complaint line by line, I cried, I screamed, and I vomited. I had stacks of medical records to show the CPS agent regarding my son's bizarre, rare bacterial infections, as well as my follow-up diaries and logs. I had a series of doctor's notes substantiating a detailed timeline of care. I had records to show all of the outside treatments and therapies we provided for our son. When the agent asked if I used marijuana, I proudly answered every single day. I am a New York State medical patient, caregiver advocate, and educator. I consume cannabis orally, sublingually, and vaporize, and I laid out my New York State medical card, my husband's card, and our caregiver cards showing we could carry and handle each other's medications. Then I provided my work ID badge from one of the largest multi-state operators in the country. When you work in a plant-touching area of cannabis, you become immune to the smell, and between the vault and the grow room, everything in your world is permeated by the smell of cannabis, which isn't a problem until you leave your safe canna circle. As a result of the pandemic, my world was turned upside down. My son lost most of his services. He was extremely ill. We resolved many issues, but we couldn't resolve the issue that many autistic families face: restrictive sleep patterns. Sleep does not come easily in our home. We've worked with sleep experts and tried all of the obvious options. They don't work. As my son's neurologist says, I can shift the sleep cycle, but I can't extend it. Mornings are not easy for us. During the pandemic, dealing with illness and a world that had no true timeline, my son's sleeping patterns worsened. His days started at 11 a.m., which meant he missed most of his online school and therapy during the summer session. Our CPS case was later dismissed in August of 2020. We felt a sense of calm in our home for the first time in 6 months since the pandemic started. Elated was an understatement. Then, during the September 2020 school session, my son's speech therapy was scheduled for 8 a.m., and I questioned this. I had shared that it would create another stress for my family during the pandemic, but it was the only time the teacher had available. I asked for another option. She said the time couldn't be accommodated. And I said, but shouldn't the time accommodate the child and not the teacher? But it was a national pandemic, and I was grateful to have any services. Grateful that both my husband and I still had jobs. Constantly focusing on being grateful, since it always could be worse. We had hired a therapist since the beginning of the pandemic to come to our home every day from 11:30 to 3:30 to help my son with his homeschooling. I was very clear. 8 a.m. was not a reasonable or attainable goal. The school was very clear that this was their only option. When school started, my son was having more pain associated with his health than ever before. When he did sleep, he woke up screaming. It was brutal. Our kid was in pain, sick, and none of the doctors felt the same sense of urgency that we did. I tried to attend the 8 a.m. therapy. I liked the teacher. She always advocated for our boy, but she would just push. Why isn't Zach's mom here? Mom, why is he sleeping? Why can't Dad wake him up? Mom. I detailed how he woke up screaming, had painful urination, and that what would help me would be assistance with paperwork that's required by the Office for People with Developmental Disabilities, the OPWDD. They actually help families like mine gain access to resources. That's what would help me. And the teacher went on to say, we just want to help you. How are you going to help me? I asked. You can't even move therapy time for my son. You don't answer my requests for OPWDD assistance. You know what would help me? I could send him back to school and he could bring home COVID and we could all die. That would help me. She told me she felt just so bad. I hung up and had my bi-monthly call with our school family therapist, detailed the conversation, and we laughed. As my therapist said, we've just got to find a tangible solution. I reviewed my detailed notes on sleep, feeding, and behavior. We were aligned, but what were we waking him up for? The world at this time had no clock. Simultaneously, the speech teacher reported us to CPS because I had threatened suicide. I wished death for our child, and the father was unknown or not present, and Mom always seems frantic and constantly working. Sessions were missed, and the child's safety should be questioned. There we were, less than 6 weeks after our first case was dismissed, facing a second CPS accusation. The safety and sanctuary of our home was up in smoke. 2 days later, my son was scheduled for emergency surgery. Numerous community members and doctors spoke to CPS to detail the absurdity of these accusations. Our house was never the same, though. My husband and I felt targeted. There was no solution offered, just constant reminders that those around us perceived that we were failing our child. We couldn't comprehend what else to do to help our child. Our perception and the schools seemed to be a spectrum apart. 3 months later, our son suffered from 2 horrible grand mal seizures, where we found him breathless in bed, asphyxiating on his own vomit. Watching his eyes roll back, we worked feverishly to resuscitate him until medical assistance arrived. We spent a second pandemic Christmas in a children's hospital. Santa brought purple shirts and a welcome to epilepsy balloon. We were broken. 3 months after that, my son lost his father, his best bud, his personal Jesus. He is aware. He watches his mother cry. He knows why. He cries alone. We cry together. He knows what we've lost. My loss isn't even quantifiable. Despite everything, the summer of 2021 was the summer of Zach. My son went to camp and flourished being back in his community. Schools opened for in-person sessions in September. Therapies were scheduled in the morning again. As I drove my son to school for his first day, a wave of nausea and fear washed over me. I was driving my son to the place that judged me, and in my perception, filed multiple cases that were the root cause in destroying our family. Many people, including my therapist, wondered why I didn't change schools. It's not that easy in special needs world, but it never occurred to me. My boy had been flourishing since joining the program 4 years ago. If the school could just see me through a different lens, they might see the career I was so proud and passionate about with less disgust and disdain. Every morning, I'd tell our special ed program director how sick I was. He promised me that no one would bother me regarding cannabis, that all issues should be reported to him versus CPS. We talked often. For the most part, my son made it to school from September to December of 2021. In December, we were hit with COVID a second time. Sleep never went back to a normal cycle. Every conversation with the school team ends with the same sentiment. That's tough. Wish I could help. Hang in there, Mom. We returned to school after COVID in January and maintained our lateness streak. Lateness to school is mutually exclusive with being late to work. But I no longer work in one store. I have the pleasure and privilege of working with 30 different dispensary locations throughout the state, often driving as far as Albany from Nassau County. As my world spirals in grief, my favorite place to be is a New York State dispensary, as a reminder that the support, compassion, and empathy in the cannabis industry is unparalleled. As we turn the calendar to March of 2022, the buzz started among the New York Canna-fam. It's nearly 1 year to the mark of the anniversary of the decriminalization of the consumption and carrying of cannabis with the signing of the MRTA, a monumental event that happened 20 days after my husband's passing and 10 days after his memorial. Bittersweet timing and numbers. Over the past years, I've just struggled to sustain. Juggling grief while parenting is struggling to stay afloat in an ocean after your boat capsizes. But staying above water is my only focus. My friends and Canna-fam have supported me and sent me lifelines in the most unexpected moments, reminders to keep treading. On March 16th, I planned to work in Albany. Although we had less than no sleep, no one needed this child in school on time more than I did. By the time I dropped him off, though, it was 9:40 a.m. I desperately had to use the bathroom. Against better judgment, I asked the school security guard if I could use the facility since I was heading to Albany from Long Island. Leaving the bathroom, the guard approached and told me that the principal needed to see me. It was now 9:50 and I was expected in Albany at 12:30. Unfortunately, I explained, I was very late, stressed, and anxious, and I did not have the time to meet, but said the principal could call me. The principal and the security guard exited the building from a side entrance, and the principal attached himself to my vehicle. I explained that I needed to leave and to call me. While holding on my car door, he proceeded to explain that my child was late for school and it was unacceptable. I explained again that the issue wasn't transportation or my ability to drive to school on time. The issue was autism and a restrictive sleep schedule. I asked him to let go of my car so that I could drive to Albany and get to work. He continued that this had to be addressed until he finally tapped on my car and said, "Have a safe drive." Immediately, I called the program director and complained about the principal's behavior. It was neither productive nor beneficial. On March 17th, I received a letter about my son's 36 latenesses. I called our director. The letters from the school only created more panic and fear. What triggered these sudden letters? My perception of this being cannabis related was confirmed again on March 18th, the next day. Swamped at work, my phone rings. It was school. "Hi, Mrs. Arezzi. Zachary's school bag smells like marijuana and had to be taken to the nurse's office." The woman repeated the comment. "Well, I know what you do for a living, and our director said I should call you. Normally, we would call CPS, but..." So 2 years and 2 CPS cases later, we're still discussing this, I ask. Out of curiosity, did it smell more like cannabis today than yesterday or the day prior? Nothing has changed in my home. What made the teachers more uncomfortable today than any other day? And by the way, everything I own reeks of cannabis. Of course I know it smells. Yes, I know, she said. That's why I'm calling you and not reporting it. For the next 45 minutes, I was asked a series of questions. She was kind and compassionate, but again, I was faced with explaining myself, justifying. Again, we talked about my son's constant tardy status. We talked about my son missing morning service. She agreed that it wasn't the ideal time for this child. We talked about my job, and that I perceive those personal opinions are clouding the issue. My working in cannabis does not affect my ability to get my child to school on time. The child's horrific sleep patterns make it impossible for him to arrive on time. I reminded her of one thing I need and have asked for help with: OPWDD. We agreed that I would document his lateness, another job for me, but a daily email would be sent to list why he's tardy. We agreed that tardy was better than absent. She agreed to try to move his therapies to an afternoon for the next year. We agreed that CPS would not be called over this. I felt better. I felt safe for the moment. Well, for 4 days anyway. On March 21st, I dropped my son off at school and went directly to my home office. When I left 2 hours later, I found a hand-delivered letter flagged in my mailbox for my son's school. It was a letter to detail how his 37 absences were not acceptable, and I felt violated, targeted in my home. I photographed the letter that the school claims was mailed without a stamp or a postmark. Another "get him there on time or else" letter. Another threat with no offer of help or solution. Another entitled action that illustrates the perception that this is deserved. 2 years later, the same conundrum to remind me that I live in Nassau County, one of the most stigmatized areas in the country for cannabis consumption. New York State is poised to be the leader in the new adult cannabis market coming to the tri-state. We are expected to lead the country in cannabis sales, which means that our state will experience employment opportunities, increased revenue for tourism, and desperately needed financial revenue. It is my only hope that perception around parenting and cannabis will evolve, that the perception of the lazy drug addicts will evolve into what we are: people, parents, just trying to get by. Hopefully, a New Jersey adult use market continues to thrive and access to safe and regulated products continues. The masses will realize that we're more than just users. We are consumers, and we are community leaders and crusaders. We're the advocates fighting to free a plant that has been stigmatized and scandalized for political agenda and motivation. We are healthcare leaders who offer a more natural pathway to healing. We're advocates looking to expunge criminal records created during this man-made war on drugs. We're legislators and leaders working to lay a foundation for the largest business to hit our country since the tech revolution. We are dedicated and diligent community members striving to alter and elevate the New York state of mind toward cannabis consumption and parenting. We're here to remind you that good moms and dads sometimes smell like weed. Boom.
Booyah.
Shoo.
Killed it.
That was a big one.
Knocked it out of the park.
You couldn't leave any of that
None.
unread.
Too good.
Yeah.
Too good. What happened? Oh, amazing. Brought a tear to the eye. Or an eye to the tear. One or the other.
Come back to us, Mr. Weedman. I think he's in a different land right now.
International news. If you go to Japan with weed from Thailand, don't bring it. You go to jail. The new Eminem Snoop Dogg Cannabis song, I'm a walking marijuana leaf, is pretty fucking good. The video's funny. The song has got catchy lyrics. I suggest y'all listen to it. I mean, what's crazy is I never really realized that the two both work with Dre, but never did a song just together. Kind of crazy.
Yeah.
They've been around a long time, you know. I think it's great. It's a fun song. Just shown to, I mean, Snoop's like 51. I think Eminem is like in his late 40s. I mean, the two of them are still throwing out fucking hits left and right. So they're still doing it. So, I mean, somebody like Eminem makes Machine Gun Kelly wear pink every day and sing punk rock songs in pink.
Where are you?
No, I'm serious.
Okay.
Eminem, MGK was a hip hop artist before he was a punk rock artist, and he threw out him and Marshall. Eminem had a beef because of Eminem's daughter. Right, that's the story I read.
Right.
One came out with a song. The other came out with a song.
Yes.
Eminem came out with the song that made the guy go paint his fingernails and wear pink on stage and sing about punk rock songs. He made him leave
hip hop. Interesting.
Because he did a song called "The Kill Shot." You don't mess with him. He's just too fast. And I liked MGK as a hip hop artist. I thought he was okay. I mean, he wasn't great, but he had a couple of songs that weren't bad. So anyway, Snoop, Eminem, great job on your new song. I've listened to it a bunch of times already. So, chickens. You're ending this show.
Yeah.
Make it quick.
Yeah. You can't even talk anymore.
I'm stoned. I feel great.
One last article. A farm feeding chickens with cannabis instead of antibiotics is fetching higher prices from consumers seeking organic poultry, researchers say. A farm growing medical cannabis in northern Thailand has been feeding its free-range chickens with cannabis instead of antibiotics, and researchers said the experiment has yielded promising results. Researchers from Chiang Mai University's Department of Animal and Aquatic Sciences said fewer than 10% of the 1,000 chickens at the farm in Lampag have died since they introduced cannabis to the chicken's diet in January of 21. While the study's findings are still under review and only cover 1 year's worth of research, Lum Sangul, an assistant professor who led the study, told Insider that the cannabis feed appears to be working. The mortality rate for the chickens at the farm has been the same as in regular seasons when there isn't a severe outbreak of any bird-killing diseases, she said. Lum Sangul, I'm going to keep trying to say that the right way.
You did a pretty good job.
I know. I thought that was pretty good. Said the workers produce the birds' specialty food by adding crushed cannabis to their feed and water. The workers do not use antibiotics or medicines on the chickens during this time. Besides healthy chickens, the experiment has also allowed the farm to sell its birds for higher prices to consumers seeking organic poultry. The birds are fetching double their regular price, mostly because buyers want organic chickens that haven't been administered antibiotics. She also claimed that the chicken's meat, which they call ganja chicken,
Love it.
I want some ganja chicken, is more tender and tastes better than regular chicken.
I bet.
Consumers in Thailand have been paying attention to this because demand is increasing for chickens, and many farmers have to use antibiotics, so some customers want to find a safer product. As part of the experiment, Lum Sangul said her research team would sometimes give the chickens bolstered levels of THC that went past the legal limits for humans in Thailand.
Damn.
Earlier this month, the Thai government legalized the sale of cannabis products but limited the amount of THC in the items one can consume to 0.2%. By comparison, the chickens at the farm would sometimes get up to 0.4%.
Man.
Lum Sangul noted that the full benefits of feeding chickens cannabis are not completely clear, nor why the cannabis is keeping the birds healthy in the first place. However, she said, it's likely that the cannabis has bioactive compounds or substances that promote metabolic activity and better health conditions, which are boosting the birds' immune systems. The study has only been a screening test so far, and the researchers have yet to test if the cannabis feed helps to protect the chickens against bird flu and other severe diseases. As for whether people can get high from eating the cannabis-fed chickens, there's no way this could happen. The THC is fully metabolized in the chicken's body before slaughter, so its form is completely changed by the time it gets to the table. Very interesting.
I mean, if it makes the meat nice and tender, and you know they put all those antibiotics in it,
Yeah.
and it makes it healthier, and it gives them all the vitamins that it get,
Yeah.
why not?
Why not?
It's great. I think it's awesome.
Yep.
You know, maybe they lay even better eggs too.
I don't know.
Maybe there'll be green eggs,
Ganja eggs.
green eggs and ham.
All right, Mr. Weedman.
Hey, everybody out in the world, Miss Weedman.
What?
Great stories today.
Good stories.
And everybody out in the world, we love you. I'm baked. I love this machine. I'm going to bed with it tonight. I'm gonna hit it all the way to
sleep
bed.
with it?
No, it'll sleep next
your
to my
whoopee?
bed. It's gonna kind of. It's the nightcap machine. I love it. Thank you, Zenko, for sending this. We appreciate you. We're looking forward to doing the show with you on July 14th. Mrs. Weeman, great show as always. Appreciate you.
I appreciate you too.
Thanks. Everybody out in the world, we love you. Peace be with you all. Peace be with you all. We need it more now than ever. As Paulie always says, smoke smart. Puff, puffing away.
Puff, puff, pass.